On average, 1 in 6 Americans will struggle with a prescription drug abuse in their lifetime. This epidemic is on a steady increase due to the availability of prescription drugs. If the prescribing of prescription drugs decreases in America, lives would be saved and the economic burden it causes would decrease. Prescription drugs used to be prescribed only as necessary in the early 90s. Painkillers were strictly used for cancer patients. Purdue Pharma, a drug company, invited doctors and nurses to go to their conventions all around America where they claimed that painkillers are safe and non-addictive and can be used for chronic pain. After doctors and nurses were on Purdue Pharma's side, they began advertising like crazy. Purdue Pharma lost a lawsuit in 2007 for $600 million due to the false advertising of the safety of their drug, OxyContin, but the damage was already done. America has not overcome the troubles Purdue Pharma started, as there has been a 300% increase since 1999 in prescription drugs and 259 million prescriptions every year, enough for every United States adult to have a bottle of pills. If pharmaceutical companies had to be honest about the dangers of their prescription drugs, this epidemic would have never started. Not only is Purdue Pharma to blame for the prescription drug abuse epidemic, our own government is also at fault. The FDA and pharmaceutical companies have strong ties that has caused the approval process for prescription drugs to be less strict than they should be. The speed of the approval process is because the FDA review times are negotiated by the pharmaceutical industry in return for subsidizing the FDA's drug approval process. This has resulted in the prescription of many newer drugs that subsequently prove dangerous enough to end up requiring warnings, restrictions, or removal from the market. Currently, the only requirement for a prescription drug to be put on the market is for it to be slightly better or the same as a placebo. This is absolutely absurd. Furthermore, the FDA's clinical trials are created unfairly in order to help pharmaceutical companies get their new prescription drug approved. These clinical trials involve 1,000 to 3,000 subjects and often collect data over a short period of time. Randomized trials are designed so more common adverse effects are not reported by excluding many of the patients who will actually use a drug and ending a trial before many side effects arise. Because all of these outrageous loopholes, only 11 to 14% of people taking prescription drugs actually benefit from their medicine. The FDA's approval process needs to change, and their ties with pharmaceutical companies should not be allowed. If this happens, less prescription drugs would be on the market, resulting in a decrease of the prescribing of prescription drugs. An individual that is struggling with a prescription drug addiction will spend $3,500 to $70,000 in their lifetime. Insurance companies are to blame as well because they push cheaper, more addictive drugs over less addictive alternatives. Not only does an individual struggling with addiction cause a financial burden for themselves, they also cause an economic burden for the rest of the American economy. Addiction costs the United States more than $740 billion annually a year in lost work productivity and healthcare expenses. If the prescribing of prescription drugs decreased, it would save both addicts and America's money. When someone becomes addicted to a prescription drug, it is considered a brain disease that causes the addict to search for more pills no matter what. Symptoms of being addicted to a prescription drug includes memory problems, low blood pressure, tremors, seizures, potential for breathing to stop, comas, and even death. Rates of overdoses due to prescription drugs has increased over the years. In 2016, America saw their all-time high with the total number of overdoses in a year. The daily death toll is 142 fatal overdoses, 91 of them from opioids, which adds up to almost 52,000 drug overdose deaths. If the prescribing of prescription drugs decreased, there would be fewer health issues and lives lost. I decided to do my own experiment and asked 10 random people around USC if they had ever used a prescription drug that wasn't theirs, because this is considered abuse. Due to confidentiality, I videoed their feet. Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No, I have not.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No.
It's a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
I have.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
Yes.
Taken a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
Yes.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No.
Prescription drug that wasn't yours?
No.
Have you ever used a prescription drug that wasn't yours?
Yes.
This epidemic is a major issue with an easily preventable cause. The effects of prescription drug abuse are relevant right here in USC, with 4 out of 10 of the students I interviewed abusing a prescription drug. Effects of the prescription drug abuse epidemic are detrimental. Health effects and economic burdens and death are just a few of the many issues that come with the readily available prescription drugs. In order for this epidemic to end, prescription drugs need to be prescribed less.